Redditors who quit your boring 9 to 5 to follow your dreams. How did you do it and how did it work out? I was working not a traditional 9-5, but a dead-end job in security. My grandfather ended up passing away and left my grandmother a lot of money. She asked me if I wanted to go back to school or do something with my life, and it made me realize that I needed a career. I knew I wanted to be creative, and always enjoyed radio people like Stern and Andy Savage in Seattle. I figured I could do this, so I ended up going to a local tech college that had a radio station. I finished the course and interned at the biggest Seattle rock station, KISW, and it's been almost 12 years since I have been hired on. Seems to be working out fine. I was working not a traditional 9-5, but a dead-end job in security. My grandfather ended up passing away. This is the beginning to Stardew Valley. I almost want to stop there and hear you started a farm. My best friend graduated with a degree in petroleum engineering, worked for a little over a year and then packed up and headed to Colorado to be a ski lift operator, and he loves it. Worked at a ski resort. That sounds amazing right now. I worked for a GIS mapping software company for a few years after college. My job was simple and low stress. However, I was so bored all the time, I decided to look into teaching because I liked the idea of doing something different every day and being challenged. Regular vacation time didn't hurt either. I had a lot of respect for my boss, so I'll let her know my plans and that I was going to night school to get my MA and credential. She was sad to hear about it, but very supportive. Even tried to see if the company would help pay for some of my education. Now I'm lighting things on fire in front of middle schoolers and calling it science. Worked out better than I dreamed. I read that as lighting middle schoolers on fire at first. I'm sure that the job market would be tight for that position. I did the opposite. I was a musician, producer, sound engineer for over a decade, but I tapped out in favor of the 9-5. I regret nothing. I went from commercial property management to building rocket engines, and it's the best decision I ever made. It took 4 years of school and a lot of money in education and living expenses, but I'm extremely fulfilled at my job now and I'm directly contributing to NASA's effort to put humans on Mars. It's hard to deny that it's really freaking cool working on this program, and I get to work on rocket design and hardware on a daily basis. I also acknowledge that I'm extremely fortunate to have been in a position to give up a seemingly good career that made me miserable. I know not everyone is able to walk away from a decent living, and I count myself lucky to have had means to do so. I'm in the early phase of this, self-teaching orbital mechanics and taking online space mission design class. There's not some trick to it. At some point you just realize that you don't want, and maybe never wanted, the life you're leading. Some people get that far and think, well crap, I also don't want to start over. I guess I better suck it up. And that's not a bad decision. A lot of the time those people go on to find fulfillment elsewhere, maybe by raising a family or pursuing a hobby. But if your brain doesn't work like that, if you're the type of person who's incapable of separating who you are from what you do, you inevitably have to derail whatever easy track you've found. That means accepting the consequences, that you're likely to be poor and unappreciated, that what you're doing is unhealthy and irresponsible, etc. You have to do it anyway, because waking up at 7 AM and realizing you have to clean up to go sit in a carpeted box all day makes you physically ill. As for how it's going, it's fine. Not great, not terrible. I get by, but I could always use more money. I'm more hand to mouth than I'd like to be, but so is everyone else. Standard complaints. I currently hate what I do, and sometimes I wonder if it is worth doing what I love if it wouldn't provide a stable or reliable income and the possibility of me ending up homeless. Maybe I'm jumping the gun here. I haven't gotten the job yet, just a conditional offer of employment. I'm currently a 9-5 engineer and I hate it. Mentally, it's stimulating, but I'm far from passionate about what I do. I'm too energetic to work at a desk. I've been doing it for 2 years and I can no longer do it. In 1 month and 11 days I will be starting the fire academy in a neighboring city, a fairly large city too. I took my drug test on Friday, I'm clean, and I'm waiting on the results. The next step is my physical on the 26th. Can't see any reason I'll fail. Once those two things are completed, I'm in. I can't wait to start the academy. Worked retail, was in low-level management and worked my butt off keeping a store afloat with a skeleton crew and only one other full-time employee who also low-level management. New boss and other amazing employees got tired. Things got worse not better because the boss was awful. I lost it. Gave up. Stopped trying. Boss then purposefully began writing me up for things everyone did and had been minor. Then gave me an ultimatum. Give my 2-week ordeal with HR. I gave my 2-week. Fricked off with my full 40 hours of vacation pay and used that pay to support me through working part-time while I trained to be a dog groomer. I now work full-time and make at least 25% more and will make twice that when I finish training in a year. 35 years ago I left my job as a geological draftsperson to pursue stand-up comedy. I did that for a few years then decided to move to Hollywood to be a sitcom star. It was the 80s. I failed at that but a friend encouraged me to write a spec script and be a TV writer. I did. 35 years later I have won 1 Emmy and been nominated for 4. And last year I was nominated for a Humanities Prize. I am no big deal, no one would know my name. But I've done well. I bought my mom a nice house near me, took her all over the world, spoiled her rotten as she deserved. She died in December and nothing I accomplished matters as much as having the love of my mom in my life every day. I quit my 9-to-5 job after 5 years to work in video games. I spent 3 months unemployed and finally landed a job as a QA tester. It was an awesome job but paid as poorly as you would expect. It was only a temporary job and I was laid off last July. It was still an awesome experience though and motivated me to explore video game design and development in greater detail. I have another 9-to-5 job now but at least my dreams no longer feel like they died. Video game development is a really hard career to get into. Most people stop trying pretty quick. I hope you stick with it. Haven't quit yet, but I started a brewery with a partner who did quit, so we're able to split the time pretty evenly. He's there during the day, then either my wife or I goes into work during the evenings after working 8 hours at an office job. We brew on weekends or when I'm able to take a vacation day. The reason I haven't quit is that getting the business off the ground took so much longer than anticipated. We got the wheels in motion back in 2012 and just opened this past June. Yeah, 5 years. Back in 2012, my wife and I had a lot of free time and were pretty comfortable financially, and I was planning on quitting my 9-to-5 right when the brewery opened up. Since then, we've had 2 kids, one is a year old and the other turns 3 next week, so free time is much more limited, and daycare is so expensive that I can't afford to quit. I've crunched the numbers, and even if I were a stay-at-home dad, it doesn't make sense financially for me to quit. And I still wouldn't be able to dedicate more time to the brewery because I'd be with my kids all day. My only hope right now is to wait until the kids are out of daycare and hope that, by then, the business is making enough money to pay us owners a decent salary. My wife has been a son through all of this. She's so supportive and really pulls her weight as part owner. As of right now, how is it? The stress is stressful. I'm constantly worried about the finances of the business and keeping other owners and employees in line. It's frustrating because my 9-to-5 job is kind of a joke, very office space like. I come in as late as I can and leave as early as I can, really only doing maybe an hour or 2 of actual work a day. And I literally fall asleep at my desk every single day due to boredom and or working late at the brewery the night before. I used to be able to work remote like if a repairman had to come to the house, or if I had a cold and didn't want to get other people sick but still felt fine enough to work. So I asked my boss if I could make working remote just a day or 2 a week a permanent thing but got shot down. And now they're cracking way down on the privilege of working remote for the whole team. Oops, might have been my bad. Overall, I love running the brewery though and doing the operations, brewing, cellar work, beer tending, festivals, talking to customers and creating loyal regulars. It's awesome, and I cannot wait until I'm able to do it full time. It's going to be a while though. I quit my 9-to-5 job 3 months ago after 5 years. I haven't worked since and practically done pretty much nothing in these months. I've fallen deeper into my already depressed state, which I figured will happen. But I did use this time to do heck of a lot of thinking, and to understand important things that were holding me back. I'm going this Sunday on a long hiking trip that will last almost 2 months. which has been one of my small dreams from long ago. When I return, I will start nurturing my other forsaken dreams: music, writing and physics. I will overcome this awful depression and anxiety, and I will achieve my dreams, and I will do it with this approach, because frick boring life. I quit a promising 9-to-5 in non-profit development to change careers and follow my dream to be a software engineer. I taught myself for a year, did a bootcamp-like experience for 3 months, and then started job hunting. I'm in the middle of a soul-crushing job hunt, and questioning all my choices, and my intelligence, and my worth, and my existence. Not working out too great right now, but I'm an optimist and hope that I can land that job and make my dream come true. Try and get some small business freelance jobs to put some professional experience on your resume portfolio. My first year after completing a bachelor's degree in a subject I hated, I worked a 9-to-5 for a corporate firm and felt my soul being sucked out a little more every day for a year. At my 1-year mark, I walked in one morning, cleared my desk, and never returned. By then I had bought myself a one-way flight to Asia, so I filled a backpack, ended an already dying relationship and left, and my savings lasted me 8 months of solo backpacking around Asia. When I ran out of money, I bought a visa to Australia, where I spent another year living, working, traveling, experiencing, and loving life. Since I quit that job, I've lived a rather low income life and have had to take a number of odd low paying jobs, all of which I've enjoyed and have allowed me to learn skills I never otherwise would have acquired and meet a wild variety of people I never would have come across. I've gone flat broke a few times, but have always managed to pick myself back up. Since that job, my entire way of living has shifted down to my very core. Every single day I fill my time doing things that benefit me in some way, whether through giving me joy, allowing me growth, putting a bit of cash in my pocket, or simply providing me a new experience that makes me relish in the vibrancy of being alive. This has allowed me to slowly uncover skills and passions that I'd never before given myself space to discover, and also instilled me with the strongest belief that I truly can lead any life I choose to. Recently in this journey, I met the love of my life, and we both stand by the same ideals of chasing experiences and passions over all else, and together we plan to travel as indefinitely as we please. Above all, I feel like I left a world where everyone around me was treated as a dispensable cog meant to be creative and take initiative only within incredibly predetermined and limited parameters. In doing that, I've developed a fierce sense of independence and confidence and truly feel like I went from being a passenger in my own life's journey to steering the goddamn ship. I'm really freaking happy now. Amazing so far. I was working a steady track getting into retail management in a shopping mall and hated everything about it. I learned about luxury yachting, so decided to sell off my possessions and move to Florida, attend basic safety courses and start working on ships. I ended up finding my passion as a deckhand and am now on track to starting my licensing, with the goal of being a captain in the next 5 years. Sure, during a busy season I work 16-19 hours a day, but I wouldn't trade it for anything. Like another commenter, I did the opposite. Before, I did catering for movies and TV shows, worked 70-120 hours weeks, pay was very good, weekly checks too, traveled, met a crap ton of different people, tasted a lot of good food, middle, got burnt out and decided to get a college degree. Now, work 8-4, daily round trip commute is 2-3 hours depending on traffic. My bi-weekly paycheck is less than my 1-week paycheck from catering. Pros for switch: better work-life balance. Going to school helped me learn how to better invest my money for retirement, have time to actually do things. Cons for switch: I went to school to make less money than I did before. Thinking about this always fills me with much regret. Taking on all that debt to make less money? Why? Even though I have more time, I do not have the money to be able to do the things that I want to do. Life is very repetitive now. Every day feels like the same day. So to answer your question of how did it work out, I'm not too sure. Some days I really regret making the switch. Money wise, I regret it. Also, the repetitiveness of an office job is very soul sucking, and the commute blows. But the bright side of it all is that I have more time to spend with my GF and friends, more time to play video games, more time to dong around on Reddit, just more time in general, and time is something that money can't buy. Graduated college, accepted an entry-level position in my industry, had great benefits, great salary, upward mobility, nice environment and office culture, but after 3 years, I couldn't help feeling like I was in a cage. It was like I was living a scripted life that someone else wrote. Anyway, I drove across the country to LA and started working freelance in film TV production. It was the biggest risk I ever took. And it's still scary, but I'm actually making a living out here. I love what I'm doing, and I know in my gut that I made the right call. Hey fellow filmmaker, glad to hear another success story. I ended up going back to school to specialize, brewing for life, but hopefully I'll end up making it too, at the very least. I love LA and really feel at home here. My father is currently in the process of transferring from a technical manager at TechSmith, the folks who make Camtasia Studio, to long-haul trucking. He had the dream when he was my age, as my grandfather owned an asphalt company, and my father drove trucks for him. He grew to really enjoy this. He did this until he left for college to get a degree in video editing. He told me he needed a change, which I respect. In a few weeks, he'll be heading out to trucking school. I'm actually really happy for him. This is literally his dream job. Sure, it pays significantly less than his current job, but he'll be happy, and we invest in stuff, so money isn't too big an issue. I hear a lot of bad things about the industry now. They put a camera in the driver's seat, and if you get caught doing anything, even talking on a Bluetooth, a lot of companies fire you on the spot. I quit my job, sold everything I owned and left the East Coast to LA, try to be a rock star. I couldn't find a decent job, bills piled up. My car was about to get repoed, so I came back after a few months. Epic fail. Not me, but my husband. He quit a normal job in his field to do something similar in a humanitarian organization. He is now away for multiple weeks at a time, traveling worldwide, and is too busy helping others to even think about his family on a daily basis. I think it's great he is significantly impacting the lives of the poorest of the poor, but we need his care too. I guess I would say before you do anything like this to make sure it's not just best for you but everyone that is affected by your choice. I left my sales job at Nabisco and purchased a Pepperidge Farm snacks route. Now I work 25 hours a week and make 3x more. I had a bad breakup with an alcoholic, drug addicted, abusive boyfriend. I lost everything. I ended up living with my parents again at the age of 38. I worked at Walmart and picked up a second job delivering newspapers. I managed to buy a car but could never get ahead enough to move out. My mother decided the best thing to do was force me out. I was homeless and lived in my car. She kept my dog but threatened to get rid of her or kill her on a daily basis. I had no idea what the heck I was going to do, so I decided to become an over-the-road truck driver. I could live on the truck while making 4 times my salary at Walmart, and I could have my dog. I went to school, got my CDL, and landed my first job. It's been nearly 3 years now and I have a savings account for the first time in my life, with a comma in it. I have insurance, health, vision, dental, life, short-term disability, and long-term disability. Next year I get 2 weeks paid vacation instead of 1. I travel for free all over the country and take time off whenever and wherever I choose. This year that has been Chicago, Philadelphia, Seattle, Vegas, Atlanta, Phoenix, Denver twice, and LA. But the year's not over yet. I'm headed back to Chicago in a week. I saw Mount Rushmore for the first time too. I'm independent, successful, and very happy. But most importantly, I have my dog. I don't think I could ever go back to a normal job. Not yet, anyway. I let myself be talked out of my passion degree, theater performing arts, when I went off to undergrad in 2007 because the economy was booming and I ought to pursue a career that'll let me buy a house and have a family. Then the bottom dropped out in 2008 and we all scrambled to get a job. Any job that would pay a full-time wage and have some semblance of insurance. I landed an administration job in 2012 and for 4 years made unbelievably comfortable money for my peer group before realizing that post 2008 stability in the US is likely a pipe dream for my generation. and if I was going to be unstable for the next 10 years I might as well be happy. I applied for acting graduate school in London, auditioned and was lucky enough to get in, at which point I quit my job, liquidated my life, and moved to the UK. I miss a lot of people, but I regret nothing. I'm dirt poor, but I'll shortly have a master's degree in my life's passion and face a future where I'll be performing and teaching what I deeply care about rather than slogging a job I took as a safety net. And if anyone asks, if you have the means, live abroad. You can always earn more money. You can never get your youth back. This past January I quit my full-time job to pursue photography and film full-time. It was at the point where I knew there was no more growth for me at that job, so that made it a bit easier to leave. What's hard is giving up a stable paycheck for freelance, which varies a lot more. There isn't always that guarantee of the next job, but I'm 8 months in and have traveled more in that time than in the last 10 years, so I'm loving it. I'm in the middle of this right now. Quit my 835 job to go back to school for a trade. 1. Luck. Husband got a promotion so that I could quit my job at the right time. 2. More luck. The program I wanted to join had a long waiting list, but a bunch of spots opened up last minute. 3. Really nice people. I had some part-time work in the beginning of my program that helped pay a chunk of my tuition. 4. Cheap tuition. I was able to put it on my credit card and will have it paid off in under a year. 5. Support system. Great husband and dog to help me through the tough times. My best friend used to work for an IT org where he was contracted out to handle the IT needs of a dozen different small businesses. One day he realized his company was charging these businesses $100 HR for his time, then paying him $25 HR. So he started a company, quit his job, then called all the businesses he used to work at and told them what happened. He said he'd keep giving them the same level of service they've always had, but for $75 HR instead. Almost all of them agreed. Then after some word of mouth his client base grew. He hired a couple people, bought some vans, and now he's doing quite well. He's not especially charming. He wasn't ever popular back in school. He is just a smart guy who takes serious pride in his work. Got to be careful with things like that. Most places now require extremely broad non-compete agreements, especially in development and IT, to prevent this exact scenario from happening. I actually follow my dream right after my 9-5, which feels existentially fulfilling enough to delay the panic of being 29 years old and single, and physically exhausting enough to keep me from worrying about how I'm going to scrounge up what kind of food before passing out after 30 minutes of free time, which is about all I can ask for. What is your dream? Tell us. Super truncated version. Ditched career at 33, sold all my crap. Became a dive instructor, moved to the Caribbean for 10 years, met tons of amazing people from all over the world, dated amazing women from all over the world, ended up getting a job in my original profession for great US tax-free money, traveled a lot, returned home as a minor legend, only had a few grand to start out with but made it work. My advice? Go for it. I was a high school teacher who went back to med school, and now I'm doing my residency in anesthesia. The hours are brutal and the pay is comparable, but I honestly can't picture doing anything else with my life. One way is, if possible, take a lowly job in the field you're dreaming about, gain as much info as you can, and then follow your dreams from a more informed position. I quit my job as an advertising creative to become a photographer. Took the pay cut and started at the bottom as an assistant. Did that for 2 years before I really started working as a fashion photographer myself. Now I'm working all over the world doing what I love. Also making more money than I ever did in advertising. No complaints. Currently doing it. I've cut down to just a few days a week to train the new person while trying to get my sewing business off the ground. So far so good. I'm crazy busy and working 7 days a week pretty much, but hopefully the new person can fully take over soon and I can peace out. It's awesome. I work when I want and have fun interacting with clients. I dictate my deadlines for the most part. It's hard to sleep at night sometimes though. I'm quite hard on myself, so just giving myself my grace is the hardest part. I'm doing it, damn it. Did the corporate 9-5 thing for about 4.5 years. then had a mental breakdown. It was real bad. Quit my job. Fricked around for a while. Battled a few months of depression. Then my best friend of 10 years asked me to help him start his own law firm. Did the website, budgeting, IT, admin stuff, etc. Truly one of my proudest accomplishments. He's doing great now. Just got engaged to a great woman, too. Then I started a legal services company about 4 months ago. I'm broke as crap, working non-stop, but the sales are coming in and I'm getting a lot of support. Future looks bright. I've been obsessed with entrepreneurship since my first year out of college, so this right here is really a dream come true. Thanks for reading. It's going great. I'm a full-time pyrography artist, not to be confused with a pornography artist, which a lot of people misread it as. I never had a super clear direction in life, so I didn't want to commit to college or university until I knew what my goals were. So I worked a few different jobs, cleaning houses, answering phones, doing some bookkeeping. I could definitely do it, but I felt so worn out and unhappy. I ended up getting fired from my last job because I told my new boss that my job description was to answer phones and do expense reports, not to make her coffee, and that was kinda the tipping point. I started doing some wood burning as a hobby while I kept my eyes open for real jobs. People asked me to sell some pendants and little knickknacks and it took off from there. I'm 2 years into it and my income continues to grow every year. It really took off this year. I know it doesn't work out for a lot of people, but I wouldn't change anything. Sometimes it gets boring and sometimes I have to work long hours. There are hard days and it doesn't keep that feeling of a dream job all the time, but overall I go to bed happy with what I do and feeling like I'm using the skills that I happen to have. This is probably going to get buried because I'm arriving so late to the party. During my time in college I found a chill job in a small law office as a copy boy. Well, I was also pre-law, liked to work hard, and the law office began to rapidly expand. My bosses kept moving me up from doing legal assistant work to paralegal work and then finally had me fully in charge of all financial records. I ended up graduating with my BA in history, making over $50 a year out the door. It was pretty sweet, except I hated every living minute working in that office. Something about the mundane nature of doing the same task over and over and over again drove me to the brink of insanity. I gradually realized that the movie Office Space is actually a horror movie based on a true story. So one day I decided to quit. Just like that, I realized that my passion wasn't in sitting in a law office reading the same documents all day every day and talking to the same people about the same stuff. My passion wasn't standing around a water cooler talking about my weekend plans, which were always the same number. My passion was learning about history and teaching it. That same week I re-enrolled back into my university for a history master's program and a teaching credential. Today I'm currently student teaching in a 7th world history class and love every second of it. My 9-5 job became a 7-8 job, but I still love going home knowing I'm making a difference in the lives of my students. If you are new to the channel, you can subscribe. I publish new videos every day. Until then, check another video. Bye for now.